The dictionary definition of patriotism is the quality of being patriotic, vigorous support for one's country. I, as a combat vet and the owner of a patriotic apparel company, come to a crossroads. It's become very clear to me that my view of being patriotic may be a little bit different than the majority. In many cases, many of the memes or posts I find on social media I view as humorous. Most of them offer a unique spin on a political stance that many other Americans may appreciate or be entertained by. And the most interesting thing about social media is that's what it's there for, is entertainment. Yet, what I've found is that in many cases, in the comments and even the direct messages that I receive on my page, I observe insults or angry debates where my fellow Americans choose to drag one another through the mud with hate, simply because their political opinions differ from one another. Something as simple as supporting the President of our United States of America is viewed as by many with a negative stigma, which is extremely disappointing. So let me take the time to remind my followers, fans, and customers that I am a true believer in the efforts paid forward by our founding fathers. Our founding fathers who were willing to lay their lives down for their beliefs, to build a country where all men would live free, could live free of oppression from their government. And in doing so, they chose to build that government, a new government that empowered those people. They were willing to set their views aside for a common goal and unite. And they did this by uniting those liberal and conservative views. They found that common ground to draft our Constitution. And they understood that the government must and should have the ability to govern its people, for its people, and in a way that empowered its people by uniting these differing views and finding compromise. Part of this model involved the two-party system, which in reality is literally creating an environment for friction, forced friction between these two parties. And what that would result in would be an inherited debate. Now, the one thing that I hope we all understand is that at least a minimum qualification of those we choose to represent us in Congress and in the presidential seat is that they have our best interests in mind, their constituents. These representatives should strive towards making our country the best it can be, despite those differences in political views. And it's our responsibility as the citizens who elect those representatives to hold them accountable. The one thing that our Constitution is based on is the idea of mutual respect. One quality that many of us Americans today lack, where we choose to live from a place of anger and hate rather than humbling ourselves and choosing to be part of a solution. We're choosing to be part of this epidemic of a segregated America. So when someone asks me if I support President Trump, I'll proudly say yes. Not because I agree with all the policy he chooses to impose, his demeanor, or the way he represents our country as the chief citizen on social media and being a delegate with other countries. But I support our president because, as a patriot, I believe in our country and its Constitution. I believe in that process, and I believe that my vote counts. My responsibility to my country is much more than being a social justice warrior and imposing my opinion upon those around me, but closing my mouth, opening my ears, and choosing to be a part of a solution that involves something much bigger than myself. So what I would say is, for all of you out there, is I implore you to be part of that solution. Set aside your hate, set aside your anger, and recognize that this is a process, a growth. Our society is ever changing and evolving with technology and expectations and more loose views of things that were so set in stone through history. And it's our responsibility as patriots, it's our responsibility as America, as Americans, to unite through this challenging time and become one and persevere through those challenges, compromise, speak intelligently, be humble, be kind, and recognize that those around you despite their anger, despite their frustrations, do in fact have their nation's best interest in mind. Thank you.